Let's talk about bathroom habits in prison. My name is Jesse and I spent 19 years in the Virginia prison system. You think about using the bathroom, you think about like locking the door and like getting a magazine, but imagine doing that in a cell with another human being almost every day, or even worse, being in a dormitory where you're in an open shared bank of toilets with 81 other people and you have no sense of privacy, no quiet, no protection from sounds or smells, you're just in the thick of it. So using the bathroom in prison is very different and there's a lot of etiquette that goes along with that. Like the simple things, like the flush rule. Like if you're going to use the bathroom in prison, you're going to flush the toilet. Some people are so extreme that they expect you to flush the toilet as you're peeing so they don't have to listen to you pee. Now that's not everybody, but it's one of those things you have to consider because when you're in such a small space, you really have to think about the other person. The smells, the sounds, the sights, like anything you're doing. Well, an easy example is, when you use the toilet on the street, if you're a guy, you probably just lift the lid, use the bathroom, you don't think about it. In prison, you better wipe that toilet off. Or if you're in one of the cells that doesn't have a lid, because a lot of them are just a bowl and there's nothing to lift, you definitely better wipe it off because that's where you have to sit. Like, you don't want to sit in somebody else's urine. So there are all these considerations and there are all these things you have to learn. And the good thing is people expect, like, oh, well, if you go to prison, you do the wrong thing, like somebody's going to stab you. No, people are going to school you. Like, people are going to expect you to be willing to listen, but they're not going to expect you to know everything, especially if you've never been there before. So little things like you're going to respect your cellie. One of the first things you do when you go in the cell is say, hey, what's your deal with the bathroom? Like, if the doors are open, do you want me to wake you up or do you want me to just hang a curtain? Because some people are like, yo, if you use the bathroom in the cell with me, that's disrespectful. And other people say, hey, yo, if you wake me up, you're disrespectful. So there are these different perspectives, different ideas of what it is, and you just got to communicate. Like, everything about having a cell partner is about communication because people are going to have different ideas or different expectations. And it's not about right or wrong. It's just about making sure you understand what those are. So I had some cellies who wouldn't go to breakfast. Like, they wouldn't wake up till 8 o'clock. And their whole deal would be, yo, just when you come back, hang a curtain and just run some water or something because they don't want to hear it and they don't want to smell it and they don't want to see it. On the other hand, you had some cellies who were like, yo, you better wake me up. If I ever, catch you using the bathroom while I'm in the cell, like, we're going to fight. So you have different people and you just got to figure out what those kind of expectations are. But sometimes you can't avoid it, like on lockdown. It's count time and you got to go. You can't just be like, yo, excuse me, can you stop the institutional count so my cellie can leave so I can use the bathroom? Like, no, you just got to do it. And at the higher level institutions, you're locked down 23-1, so you're used to it. That's the expectation. But some people come from lower places and they take it really personally. But you develop these kind of relationships and schedules. Like, it would usually be like, all right, I use the bathroom as soon as I come back from breakfast. I get dressed, I go out in the pod because I know my cellie's going to come in and use the bathroom. All right, cool. Like, we've got a schedule. If somebody has to go during the day, all you got to do is go in and be like, yo, bro, I got to use the toilet. Now, I was really lucky because I was at a level 3 prison where you could open and shut your own door. Like, it wasn't mechanical. It would be locked when they locked it, but you could open and shut it all day. So that made it a whole lot easier because you could just go in and get your cellie to come out. In a lot of places, you have what they call cell breaks. So every half an hour, every hour, the door opens for 5 minutes and then it shuts, and that's it. So like, you're either in or out. You can't just be like, yo, I need to go in and grab something. It's no, you either grab something in that 5 minutes or you don't grab it at all. And that's a lot more inconvenient because that way you can't be like, oh, well, it's the middle of the time, I need to use the bathroom. Because even if you can get the CO to let you in and you can't always do it, then your cellie's going to be in there with you and then they got to use the bathroom with you and they're not happy. So all these considerations in places like that, that's why being at a level 3 like Buckingham, where you can control your own door, made all the difference in the world. Once you get the kind of routine down, once you get used to it, like, it's not such a big deal. But after 18 years of that, they then shipped me to a level 2, which is an open dormitory. And just imagine this. So you walk into the bathroom and you see a bank of toilets, just 4 toilets side by side, no divider, no space between them. Like, literally you're touching knees if you're sitting on the toilet next to somebody. There is no space. Like, the toilet is never cold. It's always warm from the last person that got up in front of you. Like, it's a very unpleasant thing. Then you have a bank of urinals. Okay, like, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. And they actually have dividers for the urinals, but not for the toilets, which blew my mind. Like, so this is, like, something you need privacy from, but, like, sitting there and the other thing, if you don't know, if you're in a place and you don't know anybody, you're not comfortable, you don't ever just pull your pants down and sit down. You take one leg out of your pants, so that way if you got to fight, you don't have to worry about your ankles getting tied up. You don't have to worry about getting knocked over. So when you see somebody do that, you know either they're in a new place so they're not comfortable, or they recognize, like, hey, this could be a threat, like, this could be an issue. And it's always kind of one of those old school things versus, like, the new school things, or the, like, overly serious versus the underly serious. Because some places it really isn't that serious, but some places it is. So you got these toilets, and then you got the showers. So for all my time in the higher levels, you got individual showers. You got 4 in each pod. You got a shower curtain. Though, I got to say, when I was at Nottoway, they took the shower curtains away. And they were like, this is a security threat. We're worried about somebody hanging themselves in the shower. It's like, bro, like, we can hang ourselves in the cell. You don't have anybody watching that at any time. But, like, you're going to strip the shower curtain away? So we just started throwing sheets over. And every now and then, like rarely, you would get a CO would come and try to snatch a sheet, but all you had to do is come out of the shower buck naked screaming at them, and they would just drop the sheet. They would leave you alone. But that was just an example of like the insane policy. Like, you're going to basically make people shower naked in front of the booth too. It's not even like the other prisoners. Like, now you're standing there blank naked in front of the booth where men and women are standing like watching you. That doesn't really make any sense. In fact, it seems kind of intrusive or even abusive. But we had the single showers. Like, it's not a big deal. You get in a shower line. Like, sometimes if you're not in from rec soon enough, you might have to wait till after count and do a bird bath or something. But it wasn't an issue, right? Everybody gets in the shower. Like, every now and then, yeah, there are fights over showers if, like, we're locked down early or something goes. And that's usually higher levels because you might come in for rec and have 15 minutes. Where you come in for rec at, like, Buckingham or level 3, wasn't a big deal because you had, like, an hour or 2 hours before count, so everybody got to get in the shower. But those higher levels, they almost, like, create that situation by having a crunch in time, so dudes fight over the shower, or they get mad and they argue, and it leads to other things. But so I was used to showering by myself. I could go in there for 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I don't know why, but they installed this incredibly expensive technology. Like, some company got really rich off this, where you press the button and the shower runs for only 2 minutes and then it shuts off, but like you can hit it again and it starts all over again. So they spent tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to install a button that doesn't change how long you're in the shower, but just costs an insane amount of money and has a little solenoid that breaks every 6 months, so they have to replace it. So like I said, somebody made an insane amount of money off the state that is wasting money doing that rather than just having like a knob or a valve or something that would be incredibly cheap to replace and wouldn't actually break that often. So for 18 years, when I needed to take a shower, I got in the shower line, I took a shower, I was good. And then I go to the dormitory, and you just got 5 shower heads right next to each other. Like, no sense of privacy, like, no anything. You're just in there. And again, it kind of blows my mind because it's like you breed in people this kind of mentality of saying, hey, you're deserving your own space. You're deserving of your own toilet. You're deserving of your own whatever. And when they stay out of trouble and they do the right thing, they go down to a lower level, and then you shove them in a dormitory, and you stick them on 4 toilets side by side or 5 showers side by side. You give them no privacy. You give them no time to themselves. They're in a room in the dormitory where, I mean, you're smelling people. Basically, all of your senses are under assault. Your sense of smell by smelling everybody else or smelling things in the bathroom. Your sense of sight by like some of the ugly things you see and sometimes you experience. Like your sense of touch in the sense that you have no meaningful contact. The only time somebody is touching you, it's aggressive, unless you have some friend that you like dap up or some friend that you hug. Your sense of taste in the food that they feed you that it literally rancid sometimes. Or at least if you just go try some meat rock, you'll understand why it is definitely not pleasing to that. So what does that leave you? Like where do you have some kind of sensory experience that allows you to be like a complete and peaceful person rather than feeling assaulted at all times? And again, I don't even think this is all malicious. I think it's just oversight. I think it's just people looking at numbers and not considering the human component, because it's really easy to say, oh, well, it's just like an equation. Insert food, insert water, like everything's okay. But that's not how human beings work. Like we need genuine human interaction. We need healthy touch. We need healthy food. We need interaction. We need things that are meaningful in our lives. And I think a lot of the architects don't consider the effect of that. Now, I've had some people say, oh, well, we did that in the military, and I believe that's true. And I believe the difference, though this isn't always true, is in the military, there's a common sense of identity and bond. And to some degree, you have that in prison, but especially down at the level 2s, they've managed to like fracture people so bad that it's not us versus them. It's not a sense of like us, the prisoners, we stick together. It's so much backbiting and backstabbing and just petty BS that there's no sense of common community. There's no sense of respect. And that's why you have so many fights, because you have these young kids who come in there. These kids who come in there with 6-month or 2-year or 3-year sentences trying to prove how bad they are. So all of a sudden you got to explain to this kid why it's not okay for him to stand over you while you're trying to use the bathroom, or why it's not okay for him to yell over your bunk while you're trying to sleep at night. Just really common sense things that people just don't get. And they're not mature enough to respond by saying, hey, you know, you're right. Like, I need to do better, or I can do better, and that's the problem. When you go to a higher level and there are consequences, you respond to things with consideration, because you're like, yo, like this could lead to problems, and this dude's trying to school me rather than punching me in my face or stabbing me in my kidney. Like, let me listen to what he's saying. But the young guys always have a chip on their shoulder. So you have the young guys with the short sentences that are trying to prove something in the place that is as inhumane as any place in the system, and it just leads to this absolutely revolting experience. So as far as using the bathroom goes, you would much rather be in a medium security or even go to the hole. Because guess what? In the hole, you got to sell to yourself. You get to use the toilet by yourself. You get to use the shower by yourself. And in a place like that, something that simple, being able to use the toilet by yourself, can be the thing that makes you feel human, that makes you feel normal or valued or okay. So if you got to use the bathroom in prison, hope you're in a level 3, because if you're in a lower level, it is not going to be a good experience.